Hi, I'm Emily from BBetter, and I wanted to take some time today to go over a incredibly important muscle for your body, the transverse abdominus. I know that sounds like we're making some transition in time, but really it is a muscle that is responsible for a very important job, and that job is to hold your internal organs inside your body. Sounds pretty important, right? We can think of the transverse abdominis as your corset muscle. So if we imagine you're wearing a corset that starts from the spine and wraps around the sides of your body, meeting in a seam in the middle. This is the seam that hernias tend to pop through, and that's due to weakness of this particular muscle, the transverse abdominis. We're going to call it the TA, so it's a little less scary sounding. So the TA is our very most internal ab muscle. And being so, it is important for our core strength, for the stability of our spine, and it's also important because it connects your pelvic floor and your diaphragm. And because of its shape, like a corset, our diaphragm sits on top like a cup, and our pelvic floor sits on the bottom like a cup as well. When we breathe in, our diaphragm lowers, as does our pelvic floor. When you breathe out, your diaphragm raises to help squeeze the air out of your lungs, and so does your pelvic floor. Now, we all know that as we age, incontinence is something that we all have to worry about. If you take the time to every single day work on the strength of your TA, you will find incontinence is not something you have to deal with. You'll be able to walk, sneeze, cough, laugh, and all of the normal things of life without worrying about whether or not you've had an accident. That being said, now that you understand the importance of the TA, let's learn how we can work it. Now, very many people have a hard time with doing abdominal exercises, mostly because they feel strain in their neck or their back, or perhaps they don't have enough connection on their abdominal muscles with their mind, that mind-body connection, that they just can't get it to activate. So what we're going to do is use something that we do every day, our breathing. We're going to use our breath to help activate the TA. Now, in order to do this, we have to understand and remember that the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are linked to the TA. So if we take a big, deep breath in, our belly will expand. Now, that is a normal function. In order to have your TA working properly, you must be able to use it constantly throughout the day. Most all of your abdominal muscles are meant to be used constantly, so the lack of use is what really causes weakness and atrophy in those abdominal muscles. Gaining strength in this innermost abdominal muscle is really going to help improve all the rest of your core exercises, as well as all weightlifting, weight bearing, and daily activities you partake in. Okay, so in order to use our breath, I'm going to show you from the side. We're going to take a big deep breath in, letting the belly expand. And as we breathe out, we're going to collapse the belly in. Before you take another deep breath, I want you to pretend like you've taken a breath and create a vacuum of space within your abdomen. So breathe all that air out and then suck it in. Continue to hold this for as long as you can. Again, to go over this technique, we're going to remember that breathing in through the belly will expand, and as we breathe out, we're going to collapse and pretend to take a breath. Now, as you'll see, and I'll show you, when you get this correct, you're going to see right around your neck here an indent. And this indent is caused by that vacuum pressure inside the abdomen. One of the things that many of us don't realize is that our breath actually helps our heart beat. The left side of your heart, specifically the left ventricle of your heart, is much larger than the rest of the heart. Now, the reason for that is because it's responsible for pumping all of the blood that's oxygenated back out and into the body. So it needs to have a high volume. Those veins and arteries that run through the center of your body are also much larger in diameter. In order for the blood to pump properly up to your heart, we need to create that intra-abdominal pressure that the vacuum creates. Now, that happens normally if we are breathing by expanding and contracting the belly. Mostly, though, people either hold their breath for long periods of time or they're chest breathers. And when you're a chest breather, you're taking much smaller quantities of breath in, but most importantly, you are expelling or releasing a smaller quantity of air. So at the end of your breath, you haven't exhaled all of the breath, and it stays within your lungs, and the carbon dioxide also stays within your lungs. This makes it so that we feel like we're out of breath. Maybe you yawn a lot, or maybe it's hard for you to stay awake. It might just be that you need to learn how to work on your breath. So this vacuum control, that can also function as a breath exercise as well. Another option for working your transverse abdominis is something called a box breath. With a box breath, we can start at 5 seconds. We're going to breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, release for 5 seconds, and hold at that vacuum, which is no breath, for 5 seconds. So again, that's breathing in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and hold at the bottom with no breath for 5 seconds. Repeat this 5 to 10 times, and you'll be a master at breathing in no time. Remember, your transverse abdominis is the corset muscle of your body. You won't need Spanx anymore, I promise. All right, get practicing. You can practice this every single day, multiple times a day, wherever you are, standing, sitting, driving, working. I don't know if I would do it talking. You might look a little funny, but you can literally practice it anytime you have downtime. And my favorite is to practice in the morning, right before I've eaten anything. It's much easier to compress your internal organs when you got no food inside of them. Have fun practicing, and remember, abdominal vacuuming is just the same as vacuuming up your carpet. If you aren't vacuuming your abdomen, it is full of all sorts of things. So you want to make sure we vacuum it up and really get to pushing all that blood out and all of the foods that you eat inside your digestive system. Believe me, you just might experience the need to go to the restroom before, after, during any of those times in an abdominal vacuum. That's a sign it's working, and it's okay. All right. Have fun, and remember, practice as often as you possibly can. See you later. Live better, be better.